We will call the regular meeting of council for Tuesday, February 14th to order, 7 p.m. Looking for approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Folks, thanks for showing up on Valentine's Day. Yeah, both of you. It is public participation, it is public participation time. So if either of you have anything, we'll bring the mic to you, John, if you want.
No,
just
make him stand up.
Well, it's just with the boo-boo leg and all, you know.
Like the Phil Donahue show.
Yeah. Well, my name is John Vincer, 3340 Painter Road. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Royal Roads Group, and I just wanted to mention that we did meet last Thursday in this room, actually, and I just wanted to thank you, Council, very much for giving us that facility to use for a meeting. This will be, I can see, probably a more ongoing thing, and we plan on get together perhaps monthly. So not only would I like to thank you for the use of the room, but ask you again on March 9th at 7 o'clock. Jason was good enough to babysit us and make sure we all behaved, and I think we pretty much did. So I'd like to ask for use of the room again. I can follow this up with an email, so you can respond by email if you like, or now.
That would be the most appropriate, if you can maybe direct it through to Marcy, and staff can then make sure that the meeting room availability is workable.
Sure. Marcy, and your email address is on the town website. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Great, that's all I have. One more thing. Dawn and I are together, but we're not a couple. Even though it is Valentine's Day, I just wanted to make that clear. Moral support.
At least we got it on camera now. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Aside from the Happy Valentine's Day and oh, you're going to scoot away on us just that quick. Well, thanks for coming out. Mayor's message, February 22nd, I think everybody got the reminder notice from Rhonda that it is Pink Shirt Day. So I know our staff have always supported it very well with Pink Shirt, but if you're out and about, pink it is on February 22nd. Moving on then to adoption, or anybody else, first of all, was there anything that popped up from anybody with all the snow and cancellations we've had? Nothing? Okay. Adoption of minutes from our January 23rd meeting, please.
Move adoption.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Correspondence requiring council direction. We did receive a letter from Conservative MP Peter Van Loan in regards to Let's Save Our Heritage Infrastructure and Bill C-323. For information here, folks, what's your pleasure? Councillor Day?
I just would move that we receive for information and perhaps share through our networks as appropriate.
Seconder? Any further conversation? Councillor Martin?
Yeah, so, sorry, I was just thinking, because I did read through that, sorry, I'm just trying to find it, 21. I didn't see anything negative, and I didn't see them having any specific cost ramifications to the city, so I didn't actually see an issue with us sending a letter to our local MP, which would be, sorry, help me.
Randall Garrison.
Randall, just saying that we would be supportive of Bill C 323. So I probably will vote against just receiving it, and actually, if it fails, then move to send a letter to our local MP saying that we support that bill.
I got two on there, Councillor Nault and then Councillor Chong.
While this won't directly impact the Colwood taxpayer per se through Colwood, it does impact every taxpayer in Canada because Canada still needs the same revenue. if you give these people a tax break because they're renovating a heritage building, basically you're asking the rest of the taxpayers in Canada to subsidize that. I'm really not in favor of that. Heritage buildings are nice for the public at large, but they're also very profitable for the person who owns them. So really don't think an income tax break for that kind of renovation is an appropriate vehicle. I will be supporting the motion to receive.
Thank you. Councillor Chong.
Thank you. I was going to say, while I don't necessarily oppose the intent, some of the negative things that have been mentioned is that one, there's no cap on what can be claimed, and also there's no limit on qualifications. For example, if someone is really well off compared to someone who actually does need the help, they both have the equal chance to apply. Another consequence is that it might cause inequality between neighbors if one house is not deemed heritage and the other one is. And lastly, one of the negative points is that don't quote me, there are thousands of properties registered under Heritage Canada, I believe. And since there is no cap, it could lead to a rush of people applying for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Day.
I would just add that from Colwood's perspective, it could have an impact on our payment in lieu of taxation that we receive for the federal buildings at Royal Roads, for example. So I understand there are grant programs for assistance that have been in existence for quite a while for some heritage buildings, and I would support something along those lines. But when we're talking about income tax, then it affects us in a completely different way.
And I'm just going to say that the letter, Dear Interested Canadian, didn't quite get my attention when I received this at home in a flyer format. So I think that there are ways, and I like the idea that Councillor Day proposed on having perhaps the information put out there for the public to pick up on, and there is information here that says how to get in touch with that member and whatever. So any other comments, questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion does carry. Second letter of correspondence from James Gray in regards to investing in communities broadband.
Move receipt.
Seconder. Oh,
I guess I'll second for discussion.
okay.
And then
Councillor Day.
on the discussion, this is something that I think I would like to hear more from staff on. There's a few areas in Colwood that perhaps could benefit. Maybe there's a tie-in with the, I need help now, the fiber optic cables that have been laid, or other opportunities within Colwood to provide another avenue without creating, a service that the city would necessarily have to provide support to create. But we wouldn't know that unless staff had a look at the old Alberta method and maybe agreements that the city has had in place with other communication carriers. So I'd like to hear more rather than just receive it and not do anything else with it.
Two more. Councillor Chong, and then I'll.
Thank you, through your worship. If I may, I'm also alongside with Councillor Day that I think it does merit an opportunity to investigate. It could potentially bring large economic revenue for the city. It also could benefit the citizens by having a better network. And I see no harm in just simply investigating, because that's what it's asking, just to take a look to see if it's possible. And if it's not possible this year, which I feel that it might not be because we have a lot on our plate, that that it's on, floating there for maybe the next years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Knoll.
Yes, if you read the grant, it is to provide high-speed internet service in communities where this is not available. I don't think Colwood qualifies for that. We have TELUS high-speed internet, we have Shaw high-speed internet, and we have Rogers high-speed internet. I don't think we would qualify for any of the grants proposed. Following the Olds model, I kind of did an extrapolation of what this would cost Colwood. And assuming we did qualify for a grant that would pay half the price as Olds did, the cost per Colwood household I would estimate at $4,800 per home. You can buy a lot of internet time on TELUS for $4,800. Olds makes the point that they can sell the service for enough that they can repay the loan through that. That may be worth investigating, but I would not like to see Colwood investing a lot of money and time into doing this when we're already served by the private industry 3 different ways.
Any other further? Sounds a little like needing some work, staff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In my discussions with the Chief Administrative Officer today, he did mention that over the past year, he has been talking with a private group or a private company that is interested in doing something along these lines, although there's no reference to this whole grant opportunity or how it might tie into that. It does tie into a possible partnership between the municipality and this private company that would do something very similar in nature. It would be, a one-off from the big corporations that we're used to dealing with. Unfortunately, workload has kind of put that on the side of the desk, but he did say if council was open to having staff at least still look into the various options or opportunities that might be out there, that's something that he has got on the back burner and is looking at anyway, even though it may not tie into applying for a grant.
Okay. Anything further? Call the question on to receive. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion fails.
So I would move that we refer this to staff for more information.
Any further discussion on that? Councillor.
Thank you, Your
Logan.
Worship. I would just question how much of a priority this is at this point in time. And, I think staff have a lot on their plates already. And I personally don't think that the municipality ought to be the purveyor of internet service. I can just see we have enough trouble with sewers. And then, so getting into another service, I think, breeds some headaches. And as I say, I really don't think it's a priority for the municipality at this point in time. So I won't be supporting it.
And my conversation today was more that it's already in a stage, so it wouldn't really require a lot more attention to getting some more information back to council.
Yeah, I guess my point is if it got some legs, then it's going to require more and more staff time and more staff time and then decision making. And I just don't want us to get too far down the road. This is my fear.
Anybody else? Call the question. All those in favor? Oops, wait.
Just wanted to add that I think that although we have internet service providers, we still are in that difficult spot that everyone on Southern Vancouver Island and in fact all of BC is in, that is very expensive. So if there was a way to partner with a third party to provide residents with a more cost-effective internet service or a faster internet service, it would also attract economic development because of the importance of high-speed data access for new business.
Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is new business 6.1, Planning and Land Use Committee recommendation for OCP application 16001 and rezoning application RZ 16003, Royal Bay Lands. Councillor Logan.
I thank you, Your Worship. Here the applicant is requesting to amend the official community plan by varying certain parts of the Royal Bay Area Plan, including the road layout, designated parkland, and land use designations, and to amend the land use bylaw by rezoning 116 acres of the northwest portion of the Royal Bay site bound by Metchosin Road and Latoria Boulevard to a new Royal Bay Comprehensive Development Zone for the purpose of essentially bringing the zoning regulations. Sorry, Councillor Martin.
I'm sorry.
It's a slip.
Yeah, you
it's a
were boring
stipulating.
then. Like that, I mean, sorry, that was
Anyways.
unintentional. I apologize. I didn't mean to yawn.
Anyways, the purpose is to bring the zoning regulations in line with the Royal Bay Area Plan and facilitate the development of a portion of the Royal Bay site with single-family dwellings, duplexes, and attached housing and parks. We actually had a very good conversation at the committee meeting, and one of the questions that was brought up was because there's some detached housing that's shown up in the plan that wasn't previously part of the old plan. The question was, is there a density increase? And the answer to that is no. Also, we had some conversation about requests from staff to include a laneway in a portion of the development, and we had some pretty good conversation on that. And at the end of the day, the committee felt to strike a compromise and to include the laneway that is attached to the cul-de-sac, so providing a through route for emergency vehicles. Anyways, it was recommended, and I so move the recommendation before us. It's pretty lengthy, so I won't read it out.
Seconder? Discussion? Councillor Day?
Thank you. I just wanted to point out that I did completely support the staff recommendation of the laneway being the full length of the roadway, simply because it's an area where we can improve the environment for pedestrians and cyclists adjacent to the vehicles. It makes it much safer for young people cycling on the road. I also want to point out to Council that this proposal includes the dead ending of Royal Bay Drive. It will be a throughway for pedestrians and cyclists, but vehicles will have to exit the woods area of Royal Bay via Wishart Road, and this will put the pressure specifically on that one intersection at the corner of Latoria and Wishart Road, which was forecast from the beginning to be somewhat problematic. And I also asked about park and ride and transit access to help with the flow, because the point was made that as the development occurs within this area, what really is being done to help with traffic in Colwood. As Colwood grows, of course, more pressure is being put on those same small roadways. No, enlargement is envisioned really of Metchosin Road or Veterans Memorial Parkway or Latoria Road. So I think that it is important for us to facilitate other modes of transportation other than cars, and staff confirmed that it's a little bit difficult because Royal Bay is bringing forward one part at a time. So the park and ride was scheduled for inclusion as another area of Royal Bay comes forward. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that there is more pressure on those roadways, and it's something that we need to consider in the future. I can't remember exactly the date, but there is forecast to be a requirement for a light at the corner of Wishart and Latoria Road at some point in time in the future.
Councillor Knoll?
Yes, one of the other things that this proposal does is it actually increases the amount of parkland Colwood has. The big positive is protection of all of Murray's Pond and all of the standing trees in that area. I think it's a big improvement over the old plan. the proposed changes are not different in really so much in character from what the old plan was. It just does kind of harmonize with the rest of the site. There will be a very nice trail dedication once this is all finished. Meadow Park is looking really good. We did a tour of that with Parks, and the first section looks fabulous. I think it's going to look just like the pictures they provided us, which is very unusual. Not to mention Ocean Grove, which has its park still totally unfinished and unfunctional. I
Oh, right, okay.
I do have one question for staff about the recommendation for the laneway, and just a question to planning. Is the proposed half of the laneway or 2/3, is that a workable solution, or would it be far better to have the entire laneway?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the staff level, there's no concerns to proceed with just a portion between Royal Bay Drive and the end of the cul-de-sac. Our initial goal was to ensure that around the Caspian Drive there would be an ongoing line of rear lane housing. But from a development perspective, yeah, we don't have concerns only doing a portion of the lane as proposed.
Anybody else? Called question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, Ben. Finance and Administration, item 6.2.1, report from Admin Assistant in regards to Association of Vancouver Island Coastal Communities Annual General Meeting and Convention. As well, there's an attachment on here. So, in essence, we're looking for those council members of interest that are wanting to attend AVICC, and with that will come whether or not they want to attend the second attachment there in regards to the Regional Education Network and Trade Show that will be held in Parksville, I believe it is. Yes. So, anything more to add on that one? So, Council, do we have any? I know Councillor Trace isn't with us today, but is there anybody that wants to jump up and down and tell themselves?
Nope.
Councillor Day?
I'm certainly willing to go. I always find the programs very worthwhile, and happy to bring back information to the rest of council if they're not able to come, or to go with others. Happy to try to find a way to ride share or whatever it takes.
Anybody else? It's April 7th to 9th.
Could I tentatively put my name up there? There's just a few things I have to double check, but
Yeah, and
The interest
I
is
think
there.
we've allocated for 2 or 3 or whatever. So, and I'll do the same. It's always better to go in twos, but if there's a desire to go, then we'll make sure that there's 2 people going. All right. And seconder?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is a request for consent to the adoption of the CRD bylaw number 4142, cited as a Regional Parks Loan and Authorization bylaw number 1, 2016.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a bylaw that is for the CRD loan authorization of $6.1 million to fund the ENN Rail Trail Humpback Connector with a target completion date of 2019. One of the requirements for the CRD is to not have to get electoral approval for borrowing for a regional park service, is to obtain consent from the participating municipalities, and they would need to get 2/3 of those participating municipalities to support adoption of this loan authorization bylaw in order for them to move forward with it. So at this time, the CRD is advising through a number of reports that were attached to this report to council that the estimated cost for borrowing the $6.1 million over 15 years is based on current assessments, $2.72 per year per average household, and they were looking to find out if council does or does not consent to the adoption of the loan authorization bylaw for the E&N Rail Trail Humpback Connector.
Councillor Day?
I don't think that the citizens Colwood would have any difficulty, with the $2.72 per year that the average homeowner would be paying to make this happen. But I also think we could use this as an opportunity to remind the CRD that we have a unfinished trail connection in Colwood that we would really like to see on their radar, and just use this as an opportunity to say yes, and by the way, could you please think about an overpass for the Galloping Goose Trail?
Councillor Knoll?
$2.70 per household doesn't sound like a lot of money, but I would remind council that we're already paying $10 per household for parkland acquisition to the CRD. We have been for more than a decade, and to date they haven't spent a penny in the city of Colwood. None of this rail trail is in the city of Colwood. Perhaps we may be using the end of the trail. I probably will personally myself, but I think we should be asking the residents of Colwood whether they want to do this or not, and not making the decision for them. So I would move that the Capital Regional District be advised that the City of Colwood, the Council of the City of Colwood, does not consent to the adoption of CRD Bylaw 4142, cited as Regional Parks Loan Authorization Bylaw number 1, 2016.
Anybody, seconder?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Discussion? Councillor Logan and then Day.
Thank you, Worship. Although I sympathize certainly with Councillor Nault's sentiments, I think of all the services that the CRD provides, and that we complain about, CRD Parks is probably the one service, along with CRD Water, that really does a good job, and people can appreciate, and it's tangible, and so they see the value for money. And I think there's people utilize those two services more than any other service that the CRD probably provides, and so they see the value for money. And I'm happy to chuck in the $2. Quite frankly, I think it's worthwhile. But I do hear what you're saying.
Councillor Day.
Thanks. I think those are good points, Councillor Logan. And my other concern is that, I don't know, you catch more flies with honey. And rather than alienating the CRD, and I would like to get them on side and use this as an opportunity to point out that yes, we support CRD Parks, and by the way, we haven't had any money spent in Colwood, and you have this Parks Acquisition Fund that you haven't spent any money in Colwood with, and we would very much like to see some of those improvements. Of all the regional services that I have participated in, the Parks is one that even though I know all of my Colwood parks and do walk them regularly, I also belong to a walking group, and the CRD parks are a great resource for people to stay fit and stay happy. So I am supportive.
Councillor Chong.
Thank you, Your Worship. I personally have ridden portions of the trail. It's very nice, and it's usually quite busy on nice days. So I think the citizens would appreciate having an alternate route to use. Also, I think it brings other benefits, tourism being one. This is another alternate route that could bring people to Colwood, and it also does, it touches the Galloping Goose. So, I mean, it's adding more connections, which I think is never a bad thing. Thank you.
Any further conversation? just to say that at the table, conversation was actually very positive around this aspect, although lengthy in there. And I think I agree with Councillors Logan, and Day around the idea that parks is well appreciated throughout the region and is something that we can, hang a flag to. So there is a motion on the floor, which is B of the recommendations. Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion fails.
So I'll move option A of the recommendation, Your Worship.
And I would like to follow up with making the points that Councillor Nault has made and we have agreed on in around the fact that we do have, a really high need for a safe connection to the Galloping Goose Trail, which is theirs, to monitor and get that on the map so that we can actually start working towards it. So we can find a way to 1-2 punch that resolution, be great.
I'm just wondering if I could move an amendment to the motion, which is and I apologize, I was confused on the previous vote, but that if I can get my tongue to work, that a letter be written to the Capital Regional District reminding them of the need for improvements on the Galloping Goose Trail.
On which?
Reminding them of the need for improvements on the Galloping Goose Trail in Colwood.
Yeah, let's do it in 2. We'll take A
Okay.
as been identified by Councillor Logan, and then do a second one that addresses the letter. Seconder for the motion?
Second.
Any discussion on the A part then? And or the letter? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
So I'll move then that we send a letter.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Bylaws, we have a couple before us. Bylaw number 1664, final reading for Colwood Secondary Suite Accessory Dwelling Unit Permit Procedures Bylaw.
Move final.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. You got that? Bylaw number 1658, final reading for Colwood Officers Bylaw number 1658, 2017.
Move final.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Move adjournment.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Ben, thank you.